You're all very welcome to this small practice information session. I'm joined here today with Daniel Gary from Future Range, and we're going to be discussing, as part of our technology series with the Technology Committee on cybersecurity, we're going to be discussing CIS controls and how best you can use these to secure your legal firm future. So you're very welcome. Thanks everyone for joining us today. So I'll hand you over to Daniel from Future Range. So Daniel, just to introduce you, you're Director of Security at Future Range.
Correct, that's correct.
And do you want to explain who Future Range are?
So yeah, I'll just kick off my presentation here now. So Future Range are companies that was established back in 1995, and we provide digital transformation, managed IT and cybersecurity expertise across Ireland and into the UK. So that ranges from managed service providers to all facets of security. So look, I suppose it's here today just to discuss the CIS controls and what they mean and what's involved in the CIS controls. So the CIS controls is the Centre for Internet Security, and it's a government body that we've become a part of over in the States. So it was a group of cyber experts who came together and created this framework. And based on this framework, there's 18 controls. So it's a really good place for companies to start if they don't know where to start. And that's what we're seeing out there, is like, where do I actually begin, or where do I start my security journey? So as I mentioned, there's 18 controls within the CIS audit framework. And implementing just 6 of these controls would mean that you'd be 84% protected. Implementing all 18. So if you implement 6, it's 84. If you implement all 18, it's 96% effective against reducing cyber attacks. So typically what we would do around these controls is we would go to a customer site, go through the controls, create a baseline, have a workshop and do a gap analysis, and then also give recommendations of how to remediate the gaps. And that's basically like the how the CIS controls work. I don't want to go into a too technical deep dive here. I know it's a conversation around cybersecurity, but it's certainly very effective in creating the policies and frameworks that you need to protect your company. It also allows companies to have those policies in place, so when they have starters or users or their employees are looking for those frameworks, you have those policies there and ready to distribute throughout your company. So like, this is one of the slides here. So like, since COVID, there's been a 600% increase in cybercrime. Half of that is against small businesses. So they're not just targeting the large companies out there. A lot of the time it's just to hit the small guys, because more than likely they have less security in place, and it's just that bit easier. And emails, that you can see, still remain 91% of attacks come through emails. So my experience, like, a lot of this is down to human input and human error. So a lot of this can be prevented by training staff and providing them the tools to identify such attacks, like phishing attacks coming into emails, clicking on links. And I think people have gotten better over the last year or so in doing this, but there is some great products out there that can really help. We have a product there that it looks like you're coming from AIB or Bank of Ireland or ESB, Fastway. And when we roll it out to customer sites, 67% of people will click that link. And when they do, then they're automatically given training and their policies pre-populated that you can put white label your company on these policies, and it tracks and it lets you see if people have taken the training, if they haven't taken the training. So it lets you keep on top of where people are within the company on your security awareness training. So that's a critical piece in really preventing this. If people can watch out for social engineering or anything online that like people adding you on LinkedIn or sending you emails, or taking a phone call, like a secretary taking a phone call at the desk and someone masquerading to be, for argument, like accountant or someone looking for an invoice. So it's always just stop for a second and just push back a little bit. It's better to be safe than sorry.
So Daniel, that product you talked about, is that a training product for staff members that they could participate in and then be more aware of how to prevent an attack? Or
Exactly. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there's two facets. So you can do phishing attacks or phishing emails. So you can pretend to be from AIB. So then the users that click on it, they are provided training automatically through the product itself. So it's all built within the product. So look, I won't go into this too of a deep dive here, but there's 3 groups within the CIS. There's implementation groups 1, 2, and 3. 1 is if you're just starting off and you want to gauge where you are, and 2 is you're a bit further down the line, and 3 is you're fairly mature, but you just want to make sure if there's anything else that you can be doing. So as I mentioned, for the CIS controls, we typically go on site, meet the customers, and do the audit with your IT or with yourselves, or a lot of people don't have their own internal IT and stuff. We put a report together, gap analysis, and also how to remediate and what solutions would best fit you, especially around your budget and stuff like that. So look, I just put down the very basics here of for Cyber Essentials. There's obviously loads of products within cybersecurity, and it can become a minefield of where to begin and where to start. So there's no particular order here, but as I mentioned before, cybersecurity awareness and training is vital for your staff, and it's really key, and it can really reduce the effect of breaches. Obviously, having physical devices in their office, like most people have, like firewalls, antivirus, email protection is vital from phishing. As I mentioned, I think 91% of attacks came through email, and you'd be surprised a lot of people don't have any email protection in their organizations, you know, and it's really particularly crucial.
And Daniel, when you say email protection, do you want to just describe a bit more detail what you mean by that?
Yeah, sorry. So if I'm jumping ahead, sorry. Yeah, so like products where it basically stops spam traffic, so people sending in bogus emails, or they have attachments on the emails that might be like have macros, so they'll have some attachment like an Excel. So it scans that. It can protect you from clicking on the link. It doesn't allow it come through basically, and it can protect the end user from clicking, from even reaching you in the first place. And it's a great place to start. A lot of people don't have it, but most companies out there would have something in place of it, because it is number one way in.
Yeah. But even from that list there, it's hard to take any of those items out and say, well, actually, I won't bother with that one. I mean, they all look kind of compelling if I want to prevent a security breach.
Yeah, like to me, these are just the basics. Like this is what kind of like the roadmap should look like for your company. Like this is just the basic steps you should be taking, like training, firewall, antivirus. We all know that antivirus is vital, and email protection is crucial. Application whitelisting for users that may have not come across this before, we use a product called ThreatLocker. It's like most organizations, we've actually rolled it out now across all our customers automatically. So they have to take it. If they don't want it, they have to give us writing that they don't want it, because it's actually extremely effective at protecting against attacks. So I'll give you 2 examples there, but I'll just explain what the product actually means. So application whitelisting essentially means that you can only run applications on your computer or in your organization that have been pre-approved by IT. So if someone tries to download something or install something on a laptop, it automatically gets blocked. So it's like a blanket deny across your network. So what happens is when an attacker gets in, he tries to run command line or tries to run something like PowerShell. So they use tools on your network for their attack already, like tools that Windows have already on their laptops. They take advantage of these tools. So this will stop them from using PowerShell to call back out into the internet to download code. It will stop it. I was doing an audit for a customer this Monday, and when I got there on the Sunday night, they had patched their servers. They had noticed one of their servers went offline. The IT guy hopped on and noticed that someone was trying to run this product called or this tool called Mimikatz. So what that does, it basically dumps the passwords that are stored on your machine, and they can use that then to move laterally across your network. Because they had application whitelist and threat locker in place, it stopped it there and then. There's tracks, so they could take that off the network. And the next step, what they've gone for, and what's going to be pushed out by nearly all insurance companies, cyber insurance, when you look up for insurance, they're going to be looking for endpoint detection and response with 24/7 monitoring. So what that essentially is, you have an agent on your laptop that is blocking all activities that seem suspicious and is sending these logs to a security operations center, which is basically like Aircom phone watch, with people watching their network 24/7. They see something, they pick up the phone, or they take that device off the network. So even with the likes of the HEC and stuff like that, it's all about time. They were in there for months without anyone noticing it. And the main thing here is time. So you know they're in the network and you get them out. And monitoring is key. And it's going to become, like, as I said, it's going to become a mandatory step with insurance companies. And two-factor authentication. Sorry to
jump in there.
No,
just around those security essentials, how easy or difficult is it for a small practitioner in an office to sort of try and assemble all of those protections together, or do they come as a package? Or
yeah, so we have a package together. They aren't that expensive. Like application whitelisting is like €3.20 per person. Cybersecurity awareness training, I think it works out at, like, I just top and fit my head here, like $2.70 per person. You know, so
it's all affordable solutions.
It's all affordable solutions. It's not high end stuff here, like, you know.
Yeah.
And the two-factor authentication, I think we're probably everyone's getting drilled with that recently enough. So the attack I spoke about on Sunday, the user got someone's credentials and they logged in through the remote VPN. So a lot of companies have VPNs remote back onto the networks, onto their corporate network. Because they didn't have two-factor authentication enabled, there was no challenge. So there's no text message to your phone, or there's no email to verify that this is you, and that user just got in. So if you had that in place, where, like, we all have, well, Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator on our phones, it's the same as that. So you would have got a challenge back, and that would have stopped it there. So that was the first point and it would have stopped it. The second point, at least they had application whitelisting, which was brilliant. So that did stop it.
So Danny, is that the basic suite of products that if I put them into my practice, I'd be in the top 8, or like 80% covered?
Yeah. Like, look, there's no silver bullet. There's no way of stopping it.
Yeah.
There's not 100. There's no, like, otherwise we'd all be doing it. Like, but if you have these products in place and tools in, like, you're a long way down the line, you know. And the thing is, they want quick and easy. They don't want to be in there and trying and getting stopped and going on to the next machine. They're going to the next person. Like, they're like me and you. They have, you know, like, these companies have hired people. They follow a process, and they literally have a run book where they have steps by steps what to do. They don't go in and just do a Hail Mary. They have a steps that they do. And if they can't get to those steps, they leave. You know, they go on to the next guy. You know, and just having this in place, especially the endpoint detection response. Like, that's critical. Like, having someone watching your network 24/7 all day long, it's brilliant. Is there any questions on that so far? I know I'm probably going very fast and talking fast, but I know we're half an hour. So if anyone's any questions in the chat, or if there's anything coming in.
Yeah, not so far. So
okay, I'll keep pressing ahead.
That's yours. Yeah.
Yeah, so look, this is another slide about cyber hygiene for businesses. So if you have a budget and you want to spend, you're not trying to figure out where you spend your money and what you protect, you need to find out where the crown jewels are. Like, what's the most important to you? So it's usually data. It's going to be something on your server or something on your system, and then it's about protecting that and building security rings and building a perimeter around that, and trying to protect that as much as possible. Do
you want to explain a little bit more, Daniel, what you mean by that? Just to the person. Yeah,
no, fine. So, like, say you have a server, you have a computer, or you have a server in your office, and that's storing all your data. So that's all your client files, your contracts, everything that's key for you to run your business that you can't do without. that's what you need to be protecting. Like, so you need to put measures in place to protect that piece of data or that piece of software or hardware, whatever it is. So if someone came in the morning and took that off you, what would it look like? How long would you be down for? You know, it's about understanding what's key and what's essential for your business to run.
And who can help me in my office to tell me that information? Is that the network manager or the IT person? Or,
well, to be honest, like, yes, the IT people can, like, we can go and have a conversation, of course, yeah, but like, people will probably know themselves, like, you know, like they'll know on a server, they go to this file every morning, they'll get their contracts, they'll, you know, they'll have their customer information in there, and so it's whatever's key for you to run your business is what you need to be protecting.
so there's a challenge to the audience today: is have you identified what's your key data systems and what you care about? And is it all in one place, or is it backed up? And is that
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like if you have a case management system, is that being backed up? Is that safe? Is that secure? Is it two-factor authentication on that? Can people just log into it? Are they getting challenged? I don't have the answers there, but I'm sure they are. But who knows? But just it's another thing to check. Companies' phones, are they being managed? How are you securing your phones? There's a whole suite of things there, really. Like, but it's just about identifying that and protecting your data. Even if you are doing backups, where are they kept? Are they cloud backups? Have you got a copy out of the office? Some people might be backing up the tapes. Are you taking them out of the office? So there's a lot of stuff there that's kind of, it's cybersecurity, but it's also disaster recovery. They kind of overlap. So if there was something happened in your office, like a fire, a flood, or ransomware, so how would you get up and running the next day? Like, have you any procedure in place, like an instant response? Do you have a backup, a replication server, or somewhere else, so you can actually get the office up and running within a day or within a few hours, you know? And it's about sitting down with your IT companies and having that conversation, saying, okay, if something's to happen here in the morning, how fast can we be back up and running? And if you don't know the answer to that, well, you know, you probably should be engaging with your IT or ourselves and putting a plan in place. You know, it's not all about just about cyber. If there was a fire or a flood, you know, you need to be able to have a disaster recovery plan in place and respond in time.
Danny, just a question there on who monitors the end-to-end detection.
So we have a security operations center. So we have engineers, IT analysts, security specialists within these centers monitoring all these logs 24/7.
So your company, Future Range, offers this as,
yeah, we do,
as a service.
So
and presumably there's other companies who run this as a service.
Exactly, exactly, yeah. And there's different variants of it as well. So that's one variant. We can also just manage your emails. So if what a lot of compromise comes through is your emails, for Office 365 users, you should have two-factor authentication turned on at a minimum. A lot of people don't. They'll come in, they'll compromise your email, they'll set up forwarding emails, and they'll try to figure out where someone is sending an invoice to. They'll copy that information and then they'll send it back to the original destination that's supposed to be sent to. So they'll basically be trying to get that invoice paid into their account. So all this stuff are monitored and they're easy to detect it. So we would get, if something like that happened, we get a phone call straight away, and then we contacting the customer immediately. We can actually disable that user's account and change the password there and then, so they can't do any more damage.
So here's just a follow-up question to that remote monitoring question, which I think is a great question. Is so like why wouldn't we just get the IT support to do this for us? Why would we need an additional service? And it is an additional service, just to clarify.
It is, yeah, but your IT support wouldn't be able to do it. I'm not being.
Yeah, no, explain away. It would seem
so.
Like it's a cybersecurity and attacks are rapidly changing a lot of the time.
So your IT, your IT company more than likely wouldn't have the facilities, the experience, and the skill. And I mean that it's specialized area, and the tools that they use are specialized tools. So they have to ingest all these logs from your systems. They have to correlate it and parse it together, and then watch it. So there's no, when there's an anomaly that they can spot it. So
yeah, I think it's a really good question, because I think
it is.
You may be tempted to overlap it with an existing service provider or bring it in house, but actually you're really better off having it.
It's a very expensive setup. Like, it's not just,
yeah, and it's changing all the time, and
exactly. Yeah, no, it's a great.
There's a real expertise around it. So yeah.
Because I obviously, it's a great question, and I'm used to talking to dealing with security operations centers, but there's companies out there that are just dedicated, like ourselves, to just doing that one piece of IT.
And I think there's also a piece then around the PII, or the cybersecurity insurance, and that you really need to be able to demonstrate that you're using the best of practice, or
exactly
service providers.
If you look at the cybersecurity insurance checklist, like,
yeah,
endpoint
and somebody who's
detection
seeing
response,
multiple attacks
yeah,
from multiple companies, so has that knowledge or reference point to be able to advise. So
exactly. That's a great question, though.
Yeah. Because like, no business wants to have more cost, and it's added to their, but sometimes getting yourself a good alarm system is a good idea that's monitored.
But like, if you were to have this in place, your premium for insurance would be reduced significantly, so you'd probably be covering the cost of it by having it anyway. So
So Daniel, how long would it take to put a system like this in place? I know I'm stepping over your slides there, but
no, like, it doesn't take long. Like, it doesn't. We're not talking about weeks here or months. And it's fairly fast. So it depends where you're at, obviously, at the moment. So I had a number of things pointed out there, but as I said, companies will have one or two or maybe three of those items in place already. So if it was endpoint detection and response with 24-hour monitoring, that would actually be rolled out in a couple of days, maybe 2 days, and be up and running. Depends on the size of the organization. And we're dealing with two of the largest legal companies in Ireland at the moment, and they have application whitelisting and threat locking from us, and they also have the EDR monitoring, and we rolled that out pretty fast.
What's EDR monitoring?
Oh, sorry, endpoint detection and response. Sorry, I have to go back to the last slide. Endpoint detection and response. So that's what they're doing, like, and I know there's other companies out there, solicitor companies, that are doing the same.
Okay.
But that's kind of the high level of the CIS controls. It's a great place to start.
Yeah, do you want to talk about CIS controls a little bit more?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I went a bit faster, so that's fine. So the CIS controls is a great way to start. It's a great way to figure out what you need to protect, what policies you need, and I find with companies it's a challenge. It's a headache. Like, where do I actually start, or how do I even get started here? And that's where we come in. We perform this security audit. We identify where you're at the moment, what gaps are existing, and how we can close those gaps and remediate any gaps within the network itself. It's a great way just to get a baseline.
Yeah. And what are the average costs for the average sort of, like, say, 5-person firm, would you think, to start in this sort of security audit, and then putting together a solution that encompassed most of these products or services?
You're probably okay, so it's your spot now. So
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
how much does it cost to build a house, please?
Yeah, exactly. How long's a piece of string? But
ballpark, or
yeah, like, it depends.
Without committing to anything.
Look, if it's a five, if it's a five user law firm, you're talking very small money for these products on the screen here. For the audit itself, it's probably going to be 2 days labor. You're probably looking at a couple of grand maybe for the audit itself, which would include on site, doing up the report, doing remediation, and giving back the report. But for the solutions here,
again, which you'll use potentially for your PII application to be able to say you've demonstrated.
Oh, well, exactly. Yeah,
so it does a further benefit. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it does 100%, and it forces you to create policies within your company. So when you're asked by anyone, have you got these policies, or had you the policy in place, or if you had a breach, you can actually show that you had all this in place.
Yeah.
But like, the tools on the board here are like okay, the EDR and response, it's probably the most expensive here. You're probably looking at 10 a person, but again, if you're 5 users, that's €50 a month, so like, it's not like like the two-factor authentication. A lot of times can be free, so it can be done by depending on your firewall. It can be tied in and done through Google Authenticator, so it's free. So some of the stuff here can be done for free. Same to cybersecurity awareness training. It's like, as I mentioned before, something like €3, something per user. So
yeah.
Like
so if it came to 30 or 40 quid a head per month per person, that would be a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Looking maybe 40
so
a person.
200 quid a month, $2.5 grand a year, type $3 grand a year.
Exactly. Yeah. And you'd be in such a good place, like, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd be able to stick your hand up and say, listen, we're best of breed on, or best of compliance on security.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, if anything doesn't happen, you can say, look, well, I've done my best, I tried my best, I put in the best practices, we follow the frameworks, there's not much more I can do. Whereas if something happened and there's nothing in place, it's kind of, okay, we're probably at fault,
And what happens if it's in there's some minimum requirements, IT system that the small firm might need to have this, like they probably need to have a broadband connection, they need to have a server.
Well, not like, okay, so they need probably most people have broadband internet, so you need a firewall for that. So, if your firewall is sitting in front of your office, it's protecting all the traffic coming in and coming out, and scanning for any malware or any kind of detection of control and command where people will come in and try to take over. Yeah, your server, your antivirus, everyone has a laptop, everyone has a PC, email, everyone has an email. So again, your application whitelisting and your endpoint detection is all based on laptops, servers, PCs, which we all have. And again, your two-factor authentication, that's for everything. Like, that's your email. That's not just, that's for if you have a VPN back into your office, that's needed for if you're logging on to Office 365, if you're logging into anything to do with SharePoint or Azure. It's about having two-factor authentication on the whole time.
Yeah, very good. So we're coming up to the last sort of 2 or 3 minutes. So if anyone has any final questions for Daniel, but I think we've kind of covered quite a lot there. Like you need to do a security audit. We're going to use CIS Controls that are, it's an internationally recognized organization. We're going to do that security review. And then these are the solutions potentially that we could implement. And we've discussed the timeline and we've discussed some costing. So
yeah, like if anyone wants to go, like I only did a very high level view on CIS Controls. There's 18 controls, and in the 18 controls, there's lots more sub controls. So I don't want to bore everyone on the phone call on the day before our bank holidays. But if someone wants more information, send me an email, my details, look up my details on the board.
So if somebody's just looking for the copy of the slides, if you're willing, we can send them out with the recording that goes out on, well, it won't be Friday this week, guys, it'll probably be Monday. So if you'll give us that, the details will be on that.
Yeah, so that's it. My screen just went there, but yeah, so I put my details here. Sorry, can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, so that's my details up on the board. So yeah, if anyone got any interest in CIS Controls,
discussing further,
some more details, just drop me an email, phone call, no problem. We'll come out and have a chat, and or any concerns in general. It doesn't have to be what we spoke about today, but if you have any concern, just shoot me across an email.
I'm just going to shoot up my screen here now. So these are next week's sessions, harnessing digital. We've got John Durkin from Enterprise Ireland coming in to talk to us about sort of the future of digital, and they are doing a big program on digital. We just want to see how the legal world fits into that and their thinking. And then new ways of working, opportunities to work as a consultant by Gibson Associates on the 30th of March. And then on the 6th of April, we're going to do a session on setting up for practice, the regulatory requirements. And then on the 13th of April, practitioner experiences. So if anybody has any queries, you can contact me at practice support, Justin Purcell at lawsociety.ie. I'd like to thank everybody for coming along today. Like particularly Daniel Gary for Future Range. There is a survey that'll go up at the end. And if you could take time to just quickly feedback, there's just, I think, 2 or 3 quick questions. We'd really appreciate how you found today's session. Daniel, thanks a lot for joining us today. You've been a good sport, and hopefully we'll have you back on in a couple of months. And this security situation, I'd like to think will have improved, but I think I'm not too sure cybersecurity is going anywhere, but getting bigger. So a pleasure to have you today. Yeah. Thanks everyone. Talk to you next week. Bye.